Hello and welcome to the Rhino Rank podcast, where we dive into all things marketing, SEO, and business growth. As always, I'm Jack, and today Jess and I are unpacking a big topic in the B2B space, branding with authority. And who better to join us than the creator of the Authority First framework, Pierre Herubel. Pierre is a B2B marketing strategist with a powerful approach that helps brands lead with trust, credibility, and clear positioning in crowded markets. He's all about ditching the copycat content and building real influence by putting authority at the heart of your brand. In this episode, we dive into what Authority First really looks like in action, why brand is your most valuable B2B asset, and how to create content that genuinely showcases your expertise. Pierre, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Jack, and hello, Jessica. Nice to meet you, and thank you for the invitation for the podcast.
It's completely our pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
We've got plenty of questions for you, Pierre. It's not going to be an interrogation, I promise you that. What would be great for us to start would be to get some kind of a background on yourself, some introduction from where you started to where you've got yourself today.
Yeah, so I'm from France. I've been in marketing for the past 9 years. I used to be a diplomat, actually, so I used to work for an embassy. I was a communication advisor. I'm a communication specialist in the embassy. And then I totally changed my career. I became an entrepreneur. And so I was a freelancer. I started with Facebook ads. I learned really like marketing by spending my own money on Facebook ads. So when you spend your own money, you are careful, and this is where you really
want it to work.
Stuff. Yes, exactly. And then I launched an agency in 2021. We went from $0 to $1 million in 14 months. And I actually sold this company in 2023. So we were a growth marketing agency. Some people were also calling this growth hacking. It's experimentation. So when you are conducting a lot of different tests on different platforms, so let's say 2 weeks on Facebook ads, 2 weeks on YouTube, 2 weeks on LinkedIn. And then at the end of the program, we see what is the best. And then we tell to the company, okay, you should focus on this, on SEO, for example. So I sold this company. And what happened after that is that I discovered that growth marketing was great, but B2B content marketing was even better. So I switched from being a growth marketer to a content marketer. And after I sold the company, I became what we call a solopreneur, so one person business. I had some clients, then I launched a course that I sold. So the course did around $250,000 of sales in around 8 months, something like that. So I'm constantly updating the course now. I also launched a new agency, which we can talk about as well. A few months ago, we are doing LinkedIn content done for you. We have great clients. Basically, we do infographics, carousels, text post, storytelling for founders and for leaders of B2B businesses. And I also run bootcamps on LinkedIn content creation. So that's the overview about what I'm doing. And I create a lot of content on YouTube, LinkedIn, and my newsletter as well.
Awesome. So you're very busy.
Yeah.
You're very busy with everything you're doing right now. If we go back to, let's say, the start of your journey moving from the embassy into growth marketing, what made you feel like it was the right time to launch an agency? Why did you make that jump?
So after I left the embassy, I actually became how you call it, an intrapreneur. So I was the co-founder of a new agency within an agency. So it was a good bridge between like having a salary in an embassy to being full-time entrepreneur. It was a good bridge. And what I felt was I want to create my own thing, because working for the government is great, but you have to follow processes, administrative tasks, and so on. And I really had a deep drive to create my own thing. So that's why I created my company later on. But yeah, being a co-founder of an already existing agency was a very good bridge for me.
Awesome. Okay, so in terms of that you've obviously you've crossed that bridge from embassy to agency. That 14-month period of starting to hitting $1 million, what were some of the key points and maybe even key challenges that you faced along that for all I guess in terms of purposes, that's quite a short period of time to hit that revenue, which is amazing. So what were some of the key challenges that you faced during that period of time?
So the first key was the market. So we were solving a really painful problem because back in 2021, there were a lot of fundings for startups. You know, the fundings have been decreasing since 2022, 2023. But in 2021, a lot of startups in France, the UK, and even in the US were looking to acquire clients. So the market was really hungry. So that was the first factor to our success or to our growth, let's say. The second factor was our offer. So I recommend when you are launching a new business, a new agency or a product is to focus on one offer. So you actually always sell the same offer to clients and you always have the same processes, the same sales pitch. So everything is streamlined and you just like focus on one offer. And obviously the offer needs to be great. It needs to solve a painful problem with the right pricing. We had an expensive price. It was around 14,000 USD. So it was for a 2 month period, but the value proposition was really strong and fixing painful problem. And then the last part, which is also the challenge, honestly, is when you have an agency with a great market, great problem, you have to hire in order to deliver. So the challenge when you have a lot of clients is to actually hire the right team, train them, make sure you have a great culture in your company. That was definitely the challenge for me because I was a first time founder. And so that's the three main factors and challenges.
Talking about the last factor there, how did you find it having to hire? Did you hire with let's say a high amount of experience currently? How did you find that challenge of finding the right people that fitted the culture you were trying to build with that agency? How challenging was that to find people, and how hard was it to train them?
Yeah. So to be honest, it was my co-founder who was working on the hiring process, but we had one tool that really helped us for our entire company is LinkedIn. So we use LinkedIn for hiring and also to find clients. Now what the profile we were looking for was people with experience in growth marketing with high velocity as well, like can deliver very fast because that's growth marketing, growth hacking, experimentation. You need to be fast. We try to bring in this vibe of like remote work. You can do it whenever or wherever you want. So that was kind of the culture. And then step by step, we improved it. We iterated a lot. And so that was the challenge on this one. But LinkedIn, definitely a great tool for hiring as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've actually found jobs on LinkedIn, and it's just a fantastic platform. And I have a feeling it's either underutilized by a lot of businesses or individuals to some degree. And I think also like LinkedIn and other social channels like you've mentioned, like Twitter or Instagram, they're almost like the perfect platforms to use if you want to build a personal brand as well as a company brand. Have you noticed that there's been a shift in kind of the way that B2B consumers or people in general either want to consume information or talk about like their journeys or buy products or buy services?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So more and more the buyers, they educate themselves before actually talking to a sales rep. So content in general is very important. I would say top three is LinkedIn first, then YouTube, then communities. So they go on LinkedIn they scroll, but they learn new things. They follow thought leaders. They discover trends. Then when they want to deep dive into a topic, they use YouTube. And when they want recommendations, they use communities. So in community, I include group messages, let's say on WhatsApp, LinkedIn groups, Slack, stuff like that. And here what happens is they ask for recommendation and it's much more powerful than any other content because it comes from an industry peer. So definitely if you have a B2B company, you need to adapt to this buying trend where buyers really search by themselves before buying from you and before like talking to a sales rep. But the funny thing is when they are ready to buy, they contact you and they want an answer very fast You see what I mean? So they search for a product for like 6 months on their own, and the day they're ready, they want an answer within 24 hours. So you need to be on both sides with a lot of content, but with a strong demand capture system as well.
No, that absolutely makes sense. And have you got any, or have you seen any examples of brands that are knocking it out the park almost when maybe not naming names, but maybe some that haven't maybe synced up the way that they need to be in order to like reach their full potential at the moment?
There is a strong brand from a fellow French entrepreneur. It's Lemlist. So it's an emailing tool that allows you to send emails and like track them and so on. So they started with a lot of communities on Facebook groups. So they totally nailed this strategy. Then they had a YouTube channel, both for the founder and also for the brand. And they also use LinkedIn. So they use LinkedIn on different profiles. I don't know how many, but I think it's 5 different profiles in their company or even more. So what happens is each employee builds his or her personal brand, and it contributes to the growth of the company as well. So Lemlisting is doing that. Another good company, it's an agency, it's called Cold IQ. So Cold IQ, it's in the emailing industry as well, but it's an agency. They do trainings as well. And they are doing the same strategy. So they have personal brands inside their company that are generating leads, both brand awareness and so on. So that's 2 good examples you can check, Lemlist and Cold IQ. And honestly, a lot of brands are jumping on the trend right now. A lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes complete sense. I know you've touched on the point that personal brand is almost just as important as company brand as well. For people who are maybe a little bit nervous to put themselves out there beyond maybe like the face of the company, is there any kind of tips that you could give them or anything that you would suggest that they should do in order to make that leap?
So that's a tricky one because sometimes the founders, they are afraid that the employees post on their own. You see, they're like, oh, they're going to be visible. So a lot of companies will send them a message to hire them. So sometimes the founders say to the employee, please don't use LinkedIn or use it only with the company page, something like that. I've seen that a lot. I understand this fear, but what you have to understand as a founder is that when they build their personal brand, they are within your company and you give them this opportunity to both work for you and also build their personal brand and grow their overall brand. That's the first thing. Second thing is that you train them this way. They upskill, and this upskilling is part of the growth of your company as well. And the last one is very obvious. It's very generate leads for your company. So from the founder side, this is what you need to understand. And from the employee side or from anyone who wants to post, I think the main point is that they are afraid to say something that has already been said. They will say something like, "Hey, this topic, everyone is talking about it. Why would they care about what I have to say?" The thing here is that you think everyone said it already, but the way you're going to say it with your experience, your skill, it will add something maybe slightly different to the conversation. And
Yeah.
based on that, you will be able to continue posting and then you will be able to iterate. So you should not be afraid on what others will think about your post. You don't care anyway. That's easy to say, right? But
Yeah.
that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it.
And what about if they are the founder? So maybe they're a small business, they don't have the employees to be posting, so they want to like post themselves as well as like on the company channel, but maybe they're nervous on saying the wrong thing, upsetting kind of the audience or the clients they currently have. Is it very much just, you've got the expertise, believe in yourself and bite the bullet and make that jump? Because I think a lot of founders, especially, they worry about the need to be consistently posting or at least regularly posting on social media. I suppose consistently doesn't necessarily mean continuously. It doesn't mean they have to be doing it multiple times a day, every single day of the week. It's finding a structure that works for them.
To answer this question, I can give you a metaphor. It's I call it the iceberg of personal brands. So you see an iceberg, you see the tip out of the ocean, but you don't see what is beneath the surface level, right? So what you see at the end is all this personal brand thing, sometimes the fame, the followers, and so on. But what you have to keep in mind is that below the surface, you have a lot of work to do. So the very first thing you need to have is the expertise, because a personal brand is the byproduct of your expertise. It's not the opposite. You cannot like build a personal brand and then try to find an expertise. It's not possible. If you want people to follow you, you need to have this really strong foundation, whether it's about a skill, an industry knowledge, or maybe something from your experience that makes total sense. And based on that, you will start creating content, writing, designing video, and so on. And then the output, the byproduct will be the followers, the personal brand, the growth, the fame, etc. And I say fame, but it's totally not the objective. The objective is to become an industry authority.
Yeah.
So industry authority is when you become a go-to expert in your industry. So let's say you want to be known for SEOs and backlinks, and you need to position the founder as the industry leader in this topic. So all the new trends. So yeah, ask yourself, what are the new trends? Talk about them. What are the skills required? Talk about them. Ask yourself, do you have any case study that you've done with clients? Talk about those case studies. So first, instead of being afraid of what should I post about or something like that, just focus on the expertise. And then everything else will make sense because you are answering questions, you are answering problems of your audience. And that's the right way to do.
This translates very closely to something I've been seeing recently, almost in the B2C market. Obviously, we're discussing B2B today, but there's, funnily enough, a guy I follow in the fitness industry based in the US, and the brand he has built has very much been built around his personal brand, if that makes sense. So the personal brand he has built and the content that he provides to his followers, to the people that are interested in the industry, has allowed him to build this mega brand, this mega company brand. And I don't think that it would have been as successful without him developing his personal brand and providing expertise, providing his experience, sharing his stories, and almost being able to resonate with the people that are following him. And I think that's crucial, like you've been mentioning, Pierre, for B2B. I think that translates completely in terms of if you're able to share your expertise, specifically with SEO, if we're relating it to Rhino Rank and to link building, you're able to build this fantastic brand that people resonate with. They support your ideas, and that's how you grow. And it's really interesting to completely understand that almost buying process, that understanding of you're supporting this person, you're going to support their brand, and it's that immediate sense of trust. Would you agree, or have I mistaken you slightly there?
So the first thing I can say is what happens in B2C. Around 5 years later, it appears in B2B most of the time. So B2C is in advance. The reason is really obvious is because there are more investments in B2C and in marketing in general, because there's so much competition. And in B2C, it's like direct sales. So you need to invest more in marketing, but in B2B, you have the sales team in between. So all the trends from B2C, they happen like 5 years, sometimes 10 years later. So what you are seeing in B2C now, in 5 years, you will see it. It happened with influencers, with personal brands, live shopping as well. Maybe it will happen in B2B. I'm not sure. Maybe for SaaS or for AI agents. So that's the first thing I can say. The second thing is when indeed you start with a personal brand, and it helps you to take your startup off the ground, because it's the startup or the agency, it's you, the founder. But then you need to transition to a company brand as well. Otherwise, it's going to be a headache because all your clients are going to want to work with you only and not with your team. This happens a lot. Second thing, as a founder, it will be overwhelming because you will always have to be everywhere. And third, you need to let some room as well for the team. You need to help them grow their personal brand as well, but you need like this company brand umbrella. So as you said, this is the perfect transition. Start with the personal brand, transition to a company brand. But you honestly, from 0 to 1 million, Just one personal brand is enough. And then the company brand is a bit like behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, but not as visible. But then step by step, when you want to go from 1 to 10 million, let's say, like push the company brand more and more. And that's the perfect mix, perfect transition. Did I answer to your question?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, you definitely did that. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I think that leads quite nicely on to your authority first framework almost, because the way that we've been speaking is it's very much build yourself and your brand as like that authority in the industry. And that's kind of like your USP, that's your leading point, that's what you should always refer back to. But just for our benefit and the people watching or listening, could you just tell us a little bit about how you came up with this framework and kind of how it's developed and how it could be used moving forward?
Yeah. So authority first framework it's very simple actually. First, I started it in opposition to the tofu, mofu, bofu framework, where you say, okay, top of funnel, I'm going to talk about very broad topics. I'm going to talk about stories, my personal life, or things that anyone can relate to. Then mofu, I'm going to create like slightly more specific content, let's say, and bofu, I'm going to sell. So what I thought was, it's not my style. I don't want to be broad. I want to talk about marketing only. So I said authority first, and 70% of my content is about authority. The goal is to build the authority. So it's all the case studies, the trends, opinions, analysis, and so on the industry. Then there is 15% of personal brand. So personal brand it's like content that's also linked to the expertise. I don't want to talk about really personal stuff. This is my personality as well. So I always, for example, if I do a backstory post, I will talk about my past, but I will link it to my expertise right now, to marketing. Otherwise, I feel it doesn't have a specific purpose in the content plan. And then the last 15%, so you just sell, like launch a bootcamp, launch an offer, or promote your newsletter, whatever. So that's the repartition of your content plan. So you see, it's very pragmatic, and it's called authority first because you build the authority with those 70% before actually talking about yourself and before selling. In general, the biggest mistake is company that start by selling. They open LinkedIn and they start like saying, hey, my company sells this, blah, blah, blah. Or they send direct messages. They are so pushy and they say, hey, my name is Pierre. Here's what I sell. So this is what you should avoid 100%. And the second mistake is to totally forget about the personal brand.
Yeah.
So you do only authority, but then people cannot really relate. And that's why I also add those 15%. I started doing those 15% of personal brand in October 2023. And I saw like a lot of change, growth in followers, more leads, faster sales cycles, higher closing rates. It's really powerful. So I recommend this authority first framework for anyone who wants to put their authority in the market.
And I think it almost brings you back to the principle of people buy from people, not necessarily from brands. So if you can build that personal rapport with your audience and the people that you want to be speaking to and want to be helping, that's almost like the foot in the door to those conversations later down the line that can lead to a sale or something. So if, for example, I was brand new to the world of promoting myself and my business, brand new to the world of LinkedIn and things like that, and I wanted to take the first step with this like authority first framework, what would be like the pinpoints that I would need to do? Obviously, we've spoken about knowing your audience and we've spoken about creating that content plan. How would you then go about promoting that content? Would you solely focus on one platform? Would you kind of reframe the content and use multiple different platforms? What would you suggest?
So what I suggest is to start first from LinkedIn and get used to it, get used to content in general. So start by experimenting with a lot of text posts, opinions, add pictures, a bit of infographics, try videos, experiment a lot. And then when you are ready, when you start to have, this momentum, you can add another channel. The second best channel is the newsletter. And then when, like, let's say 1 or even 2 years, you add a YouTube channel. And here you have the complete ecosystem. You have LinkedIn, where you can have a fast feedback loop. The feedback loop is to get feedback from your audience with quantitative insights, which is engagement impressions, and qualitative in the comments and in DMs. Then you have the newsletter, where you can deep dive into specific topics and really show your expertise, because it's hard to show your expertise when you have only like 500 characters. And then you add YouTube, which is the hardest part. So before you start YouTube, you need to get used to content in general. Otherwise, it's too hard to start right away with YouTube. You can, but it's harder. So when you go from LinkedIn and newsletter, which is mostly like writing content, to YouTube, it's like you put on 3D glasses for the first time, because you go for only writing. You have to create the script, create the concepts, the thumbnail, the SEO of the platform. You have to do the script. You have to record the video. You need to adjust the lighting. You need to improve your speech. You need to know what to say, obviously. You need then to do the editing. Then you need to optimize your description, the SEO, as I said. Then you need to publish it. Then you need to distribute it. But all of this on LinkedIn, you just have to open your laptop, write, and hit publish. So you see the difference. That's why I advise to start with LinkedIn, then newsletter, then YouTube. That's what I did, and that's the best plan in my opinion.
In terms of the three channels, which one have you found to be most successful for you? Obviously, like you've mentioned, YouTube takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of time spent on a lot of individual tasks that are absolutely crucial to making it successful. But which one has been the most successful channel for you?
So for me, so far, it's LinkedIn. But if you ask me the same question in 5 years, I don't know. Maybe YouTube will be better, newsletter will be better. But what you have to understand is LinkedIn is very good to get discovered, obviously, because it's a social media channel. Newsletter, it's good to create a connection with your audience, because you land in their inbox, and also to sell. I get a lot of sales from my emails. And especially when I do a launch, when I launch a new course, or when I do a promotion. And YouTube, it's really to position yourself as an authority, because you cannot lie on YouTube. You can lie on LinkedIn because someone else can write it for you. But on YouTube, you face the camera and we can feel if you know what you're talking about or not.
100%.
Now on YouTube, you also get a lot of sales. What I do is I include within the video, I say, if you like this topic, you can get my guide. And the guide needs to be linked to the topic of the video, so you get a higher conversion rate. So you see the three channels, they have different purpose, but they are really good, all of them, honestly.
I suppose there's quite a lot of interconnection as well between the channels, because you can repurpose your YouTube videos on LinkedIn, you can link to your channel in your newsletters, and vice versa. So they're great in their own right, but they also kind of help build each other up in a way and help grow your community.
For example, I created one day a post on LinkedIn about the Authority First framework. Then I created a newsletter based on the post. Then based on the newsletter, I created a YouTube video, which got 64,000 views, which is a lot for the size of my channel. And then based on this, I created my course. So you see, it can go beyond content. When you have an audience first business, it goes beyond content, because with content, you spot what people care about, what are their problems, but you can transform this information, this insight, into a paid product as well. So it's all interconnected. It's easier when you are alone, because you don't have to spend a lot of time in planning, because you do that in your own head. But this is the way to do it, like to connect everything, to create an ecosystem, and to don't be afraid to connect content with paid products as well.
No, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And I suppose, as you say, like you want to create the whole journey for the person or your target audience. You want to have a touch point at every platform. It's like when you said at the beginning that they can take 6 months to research what they want, and that can be on multiple different platforms. They can maybe do their initial findings on LinkedIn, then go to YouTube to get more information and do some more comparisons. Maybe they'll sign up to a newsletter to see, okay, what does this company or what does this brand talk about? Is it actually what I want? And then when they decide to make a purchase or work with you, that's when you need to jump on that there and then.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the demand capture system is important as well. So demand capture is a simple framework. You have demand gen and demand capture. So demand gen is you're not actually creating demand from zero, but you are creating demand for your company. Okay? So for your brand. Basically with content, you become the best choice for your prospects. And then when they are ready to buy, you need to be ready and here to actually do the job. So you need this demand capture system with all the forms, the sales process. As you said, you need to have all your DMs open on any platform is possible, on every platform, I mean. Even on Instagram, maybe, some people will like to use Instagram even for B2B. I know that's weird, but they will just like, for example, they will hire a video editor on Instagram, or they will even hire a podcast agency on Instagram. So if you are available on any platform, it's easier to capture this demand, because the worst scenario is when you publish content for 6 months, you gain their trust, and the day they contact you, you take like 72 hours to answer. So they go with a competitor. So you did all this education during 6 months, and it's someone who never created content that capture the demand instead of you. So you need to be really proactive on this part as well. But it's common sense.
You're right. It is common sense, 100%. In terms of, obviously, we've discussed so much about what you're currently doing, the frameworks you're using. If we look forward to maybe the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years even, what trends do you think are going to shape the B2B marketing world, the SEO world as a whole? What do you think is going to change, and how do you think things that are currently happening are going to influence the future, the near future per se?
The first trend I see, it's in coding right now in web development. It's called vibe coding. So I don't know if you've heard about that, but basically you have a tool and it's AI, and you prompt, you should develop a marketplace, a backlink marketplace, let's say. And the AI will build the tool for you. It will build the marketplace. Okay. So this is happening right now in web development. And I feel and I fear, honestly, that it can happen in marketing as well. So what could happen is you prompt to a Vibe marketing tool, develop this entire go-to-market campaign for my new marketplace. And they would create all the assets. They will create the videos with your fake avatar. Then they will publish on all the different social media channels. They will reply to the comments. They will send DMs. They will do everything, you see? So I'm a bit afraid about that, because a lot of people are saying that AI is not going to destroy jobs, it's going to replace it. But when you see stuff like that, it can go very fast. I think this will eventually happen. I don't know, next year, no, but maybe one day. So that's the first trend. The second trend, which will happen before, it's video on any channel, every channel. So video first podcasts, for example, or video first, like vlogs, a lot of vlogs in B2B, stuff like that. So that's the two main trends I'm seeing. I think you just have, as I said earlier, you have to analyze what is happening in B2C, like live shopping, influencers, and try to anticipate when it's going to arrive in B2B. I think that's the way to go to know what are the next trends.
Almost keeping your finger on the pulse on what's happening in like B2C, and then trying to work forwards but work backwards as to what's going to then come into B2B and when, like you say, and then as and when it does, how are you going to jump on that bandwagon, or how are you going to tackle that change or that challenge that's come about?
Yep, that's a great way to do, I think.
Especially as you touched on like video as well. I feel like in the last couple of years in B2C and now B2B, video is almost everywhere on every platform. I remember when I first started on LinkedIn a couple of years ago, you didn't really see any kind of like video posts on your feed and things like that. They were all text-based, occasionally image. But now we have videos on every platform. Some of them are created by people, some of them are AI generated. You've got kind of like your shorts on YouTube as well and things like that. So I think bite-sized video content as well in particular is becoming quite popular. And I think it will continue to be for quite a while.
The reason is simple. It's because the social channel, they want to attract, retain, and keep your attention. So you spend more time on the platform. So it's their end goal, right? To sell ads, to increase retention, to have more users. So eventually, maybe everything is going to be video. Let's see. I need to adapt as well.
Yeah, it almost ties in with creating that personal brand. It's not just getting yourself out there in text format, but it's getting yourself behind that camera, getting almost your personality and your experience like verbalized and visualized. Before we wrap up today's episode with yourself, is there anything that you want to ask us, or is there anything else that you want to touch on that we've not discussed yet?
Yeah. What's your plan on LinkedIn for the next few months?
Well, I think definitely, as you say, video. It's something that we've done in small parts previously, but it's not something that we've done like on the scale that we plan to this year. And we obviously have this podcast series, which we've got yourself as a wonderful guest on, and we've got a couple of other people in the industry that we'll be working with, talking about kind of their experience, which I think will be quite exciting. I myself have to get a little bit confident behind a screen now, because it's not something that I've done before, but as you say, it comes with experience. And I think just creating that community feel on LinkedIn as well. It's very easy to get into the repetitiveness of LinkedIn, going, I'll create a structure and I'll follow it through and I won't deviate from it. But marketing and SEO and almost like every industry, it changes so rapidly and so quickly. You have to be able to adapt. And that's not just in LinkedIn as a platform, but I think that's in kind of any type of campaign that you do as a whole. You have to be willing to deviate from an initial plan, jump on something new, experiment, try different things to find what really resonates with you and your brand, but also your clients and the people that you want to be helping along their business journey.
Yeah, you definitely have to adapt. If you do like a 2 years roadmap, within month one, you will have to totally change it.
Yeah, to be honest, Pierre, Jess manages our marketing on LinkedIn. I know she already does adapt, but like she's already mentioned, and I think it's just trying to adapt to current trends where we can. Maybe we do need to build a personal brand alongside the Rhino Rank brand. That could definitely be worth a consideration, as you've mentioned. It's going to be an interesting year, to say the least. Obviously, like I say, we're launching this podcast series. We'll probably be speaking to you very often to get your thoughts on things. You clearly proved your worth, which is fantastic, definitely for the listeners and the watchers.
But what are your plans? I suppose we can turn the question back on you before we finish up for today. I know that you use LinkedIn on a daily basis and you post some amazing things, and there's always kind of like a nugget of gold I find in every post. Is that something that you're going to continue to do? Are you going to also try more video styles on LinkedIn?
So yeah, I'm going to continue the media part of my company. So LinkedIn, YouTube, newsletter. Video first on YouTube, obviously, maybe repurpose some of them on LinkedIn. Continue the infographics on LinkedIn. Continue the infographic rich newsletters. And I'm going to develop my agency to do like 0 to 1 as well, 0 to 1 million within this year. And also my training company, so courses and bootcamps, and try to scale it as well.
Well, it sounds like the next year is going to be a very exciting year for yourself with all these projects and plans. I'm sure you'll absolutely smash it and it'll be exciting to see.
Thank you, Jessica.
It's been fantastic to speak with you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with everybody listening and watching. And hopefully we'll have you again on soon. And we see how the year has been. Maybe we do it in 2026, see if you did reach that 1 million mark.
All right. See you soon then.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow the podcast, drop us a like, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear how you're applying these insights and strategies to your business. We've got more brilliant guests lined up, so stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, this is Jack and Jess signing off. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.